Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the secrets of a truly legendary piece of electronics, the D718 audio transistor. If you're a focused learner trying to figure out exactly how vintage audio gear gets its incredible power, well, you're in the perfect place. Think about your favorite classic audio machine for a second. How exactly does it take a tiny, fragile electrical signal, maybe from a turntable or an old tape deck, and transform it into this massive, booming sound that can literally shake the walls of a room? Well, the answer lies in some very clever, incredibly robust components doing the heavy lifting right behind the scenes. So here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start by meeting the D718 transistor. Then we'll look at the amplification mechanics, the ecosystem it lives in, the gain factor, the top 5 replacements, and finally, some crucial rules for safe replacement. All right, Section 1, meet the D718 transistor, the heavy lifter. This component is essentially the core superhero of the circuit. It was originally designed by Toshiba specifically for 45 to 50 watt audio amplifier output stages, but before we get into the heavy specs, let's just clearly define what we're actually looking at. The 2SD718 is a high-power NPN silicon BJT. That stands for bipolar junction transistor. In the absolute simplest terms, whether you're a novice tinker or a seasoned builder, this is a silicon-based device engineered specifically to amplify electrical current. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how much power this little piece of silicon was built to handle. Looking at these original Toshiba Air specifications, notice how it boasts a maximum collector-emitter voltage of 120 volts and a max collector current of 8 amps. But check out that last row. 80 watts of power dissipation? We're dealing with high stakes here, which means this component generates a massive amount of heat when it's doing its job. Physically, the D718 usually comes in a really common TO3P package. If you're holding one right now, looking at the flat front face with the leads pointing straight down, the layout is simple, but trust me, it's vital to memorize. Pin 1 on the far left is the base, pin 2 in the middle is the collector, and pin 3 on the right is the emitter. Keep that layout locked in your mind because it's the gateway to how this device actually functions. Moving right along, Section 2, Amplification Mechanics, making small signals massive. So the D718 operates as a conventional NPN bipolar transistor, and the internal process is just brilliant. First, a tiny audio signal is applied to the base. That's pin 1. This causes the base emitter junction to become forward biased. Think of that tiny base current like a hand turning a huge mechanical valve. When that valve opens up, a massive waterfall of current is allowed to flow from the collector straight to the emitter. The transistor essentially takes that tiny input waveform and reproduces it, but riding on a massive wave of power. Let's look at Section 3, the ecosystem. Where does it live? You see, a high-power transistor rarely works alone. In a typical complementary audio output stage, the D718, which again is an NPN transistor, works hand-in-hand with its exact opposite, the 2SD718, a PNP transistor. They operate as a complementary pair. Together, they form this beautiful push-pull setup that can safely drive a heavy speaker load with way more current than the preceding driver stage could ever provide on its own. Because of this incredibly robust pairing, the D718 is super versatile. It's an absolute staple in audio power amplifiers, speaker output stages, and those complementary push-pull amplifiers we were just talking about. But its utility doesn't stop at audio. Oh no. You'll also find it in linear power circuits, power supply circuits, general high current switching, and as you might guess, it's a massively popular go-to component when repairing older vintage gear. Which brings us to Section 4, the gain factor, why suffixes matter. And this brilliantly illustrates a common trap. If you're doing a repair, you can't just grab any component with D718 stamped on it. The gain, which is also known as HFE, depends heavily on the suffix classification right at the end of the part number. Look at the left side here. The 2SD718R has an approximate HFE of 55 to 110. But look at the right. The 2SD718O jumps to an HFE of 80 to 160. Assuming every D718 is exactly identical could literally lead to disaster during a repair, because gain matching and bias conditions heavily impact the overall performance of the amplifier. Next up, Section 5, Top 5 Replacements, the successors. So, what happens if your original transistor gives out and you can't find an exact original Toshiba replacement? Well, if you want the absolute closest electrical matches, these two are your best bets. Ranked at number 1 is the 2SC5197, and number 2 is the 2SC3181. Both of these share the exact 120-volt collector-emitter rating, the 8-amp current rating, the 80-watt power dissipation, and the TO3P package of the original D718. They are 5-star, drop-in choices for keeping the circuit's original design integrity totally intact. Now, if you're looking to upgrade, or maybe you just need a bit more headroom, here are ranks 3 through 5. The 2SD1047 gives you a higher 150-volt, 10-amp margin. Then there's the 2SC5200, which is perhaps the most famous modern audio upgrade out there, pushing an incredible 230 volts and 15 amps. And finally, the TIP35C is an absolute beast for high current at 25 amps. But remember, and this is key, higher numbers do not automatically guarantee a perfect drop-in replacement. You have to consider how those higher specs are going to interact with the rest of the existing circuit. All right, final stretch. Section 6, rules for safe replacement, don't blow it. Let's look at how to prevent your project from catastrophically failing the second you power it on. So the crucial point is this. Do not replace a transistor based solely on the fact that it's an NPN type with matching voltage and current. You really must dive into the datasheet. You've got to verify the physical pin configuration and package, ensure the HFE gain class is actually compatible, check the safe operating area, match the transition frequency, and, of course, confirm it'll actually attach to your existing heatsink properly. Speaking of heatsinks, here is a critical warning for you. In many TO3P implementations, the collector, remember that middle pin 2, is electrically connected directly to the metal mounting tab on the back of the transistor. This means if your heatsink is electrically common with another device, you absolutely must use a thermal insulator pad. Unless, of course, you're hoping for a truly shocking outcome when you flip the power switch. Finally, the golden rule of audio repair. If the D718 goes bad, you shouldn't just replace it alone. You must evaluate its 2SB688 partner and swap them as an appropriate matched pair. Once they're installed, always double-check the amplifier's bias voltage and current to make absolutely sure those newly installed components are idling safely. And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. You now understand the intense voltages, the precise mechanics, the complementary ecosystem, and those vital replacement rules surrounding the legendary D718 transistor. The only question left is, are you ready to take this foundational knowledge, grab a soldering iron, and bring that vintage hardware back to life? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and as always, keep learning.